now in this weird modern environment, we have, as you mentioned, Instagram, OnlyFans, online dating apps, pornography is another one, which is massively consumed heavily by men. And so these inputs into our mating psychology, we don't know fully what they are at this point. There hasn't been long enough, and we don't know. There haven't been enough studies, but there have been some studies that show, for example, that men who are exposed repeatedly to images like the ones you describe on Instagram, repeatedly exposed to images of attractive and sexually attractive women, decrease their commitment to their regular partner if they're in a regular mateship. And so it actually has the effect of undermining long-term committed relationships. It also, I think, gives people the illusion that sometimes it's called, if you talk about single people, it's called decision paralysis, where, like they show this in stores, like where if you present 6 jams and say you taste 6 jams and people go, oh, I like this one, they buy a jar of jam. You present 24 samples of jams, people go, I can't decide, I'm not going to buy anything. And I think a similar thing is happening in the mating domain, is where people see these thousands or millions of potential mates out there, or think that they're potential mates out there. And I think it's caused a decrease in committed relationships. And we know, I can't definitively trace it to that, but we know very certainly that there has been a diminution of relationships, romantic relationships, marriage, offspring production, where a lot of people are sitting in front of their screen, getting presumably some of their needs met through these online forums rather than in real life. And I think that these are likely to have fairly detrimental and possibly catastrophic effects long term. Because even things like, from a male perspective, what it means if you're spending all your time in front of a computer screen looking at Instagram photos of women with butts in the air or pornography, you're not out there interacting with real women in real life, and so you're not developing the kinds of social skills you need to attract a real woman in real life. And then also, I think the other thing that this creates is different forms of anxiety. So we know, for example, that a lot of men suffer from dating anxiety. That is, they fear rejection, and so they don't want to approach women. And so it actually is the narcissists and the psychopaths who don't fear any rejection. They boldly go. But a lot of men do have what I would call dating anxiety. And so they get intimidated by women. And then furthermore, even, and this is a speculation, but watching porn, I think, can have a detrimental effect on both women and men, in the following sense is that we are a species that engages in social comparison. It's one of the things that we do. And I guess maybe when you were talking about envy earlier, of envy of other people's accomplishments, that's one facet of that. We compare ourselves to others, and it's a human nature kind of thing. How well am I doing compared to my neighbor or whatever. So, but if people are comparing themselves to what they're seeing on porn, then from a woman's perspective, she thinks, well, men are expecting me to be a sexual acrobat in real life, and so it's creating these perhaps detrimental expectations from women, and then men see these guys who can go for 45 minutes and who have schlongs that are. So I actually did some recent research on this. The average male penis is about 5.5 inches long, erect. The average porn star is 8 inches long, with the 2002 record top porn star guy 13 inches.
2002?
Sorry, 2022.
Okay. I was like, I bet that someone's beat that guy.
Yeah. 2022. Yeah. The current porn star record holder is 13 inches. But if you just take the average, 8 inches compared to the average guy. So guys, you can imagine looking at this, go, well, I'm going to feel inadequate, compared to this guy. And maybe women expect this kind of performance and this level of genital size, and are going to be intimidated. And so I think that's going to create what I would call sexual anxiety. So even if they can overcome the dating anxiety, they might have anxiety about turning the dating relationship into a sexual encounter where they might feel, due to watching porn, sexually inadequate or unsure of their abilities. And so these things, we know anxiety tends to cause people to avoid the things that they're anxious about, which of course is the worst thing that you can do. I mean, we know one of the most effective therapies is for anxiety problems is cognitive behavior therapy, and causes people both to psychologically reframe the issue, but also expose themselves to the things they're afraid of. So if you have snake phobia, the best way to conquer that is you do this successive approximations, and then you get to the point where you actually can handle a snake and you don't feel fear. And these specific types of anxiety they're very curable. I mean, there are some things that we can't cure, like schizophrenia. We can deal with symptoms, but we can't cure them. But the specific anxieties, they've had very good success at curing. But the worst thing you can do is avoid the things you're afraid of. And so I think that these media exposures like Instagram and pornography and even the online dating sites, where the similar forms of deception, you mentioned, the filters and, the images that are presented that are totally unrepresentative of what the person looks like, they occur rampantly on online dating sites as well.